Hello everyone, and welcome to Season 5, Episode 42 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in NXT history with match number 9 on our list, which is the ladder match to determine the first ever NXT North American champion between Adam Cole, Ricochet, EC3, Killian Dain, Lars Sullivan, and the Velveteen Dream from the NXT TakeOver New Orleans event held on April the 7th of 2018. If you've been watching this series for a while, I've had quite a few ladder match videos. Ladder matches are interesting because they are one of the easier match types to, create an exciting match. You have all of these death-defying moves and all of this drama and all of this excitement. I feel like they're one of the easiest matches for a non-wrestling fan to get into just because of the crash course, nature of them. But they are matches, and I've talked about this before, that, over time, I feel like, in a way, they've gotten significantly harder and harder to make compelling. We've seen all of these death-defying spots throughout the years that, become harder to top as time goes on. And there's only so much you can continue to do with, the slow climb up the ladder when it comes to drama. So over the past few years, I've really started to champion ladder matches that, feel a little different. I talked about that in the 4-team ladder match from NXT TakeOver 25 that we had as a video recently. This match, though, in my opinion, is one of the best ladder matches, in recent time over, the last 5 to 10 years. It really felt fresh. It really felt different. I'll compare it to the original Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania 21, where that kind of changed the game up a little bit by having, these 6 singles wrestlers that were all accentuated in their own way in that match, and it created this great, compelling story. This match really does the same. Coincidentally, there's the 6 wrestlers there. But not only does this match have great spots and great drama, but it highlights each individual person. And the two big, names in this match were 2 debuts. Both Ricochet and EC3 were coming into the WWE. EC3, making his return. He was Derek Bateman in NXT. Didn't really do much, went to TNA or Impact Wrestling, became a main eventer there and one of the biggest stars they had, and did a really great job, and eventually became, the Impact Wrestling World Champion, was brought back to WWE, and unfortunately, kind of ended up fizzling out again before being released once more. But this was an exciting debut for him. And Ricochet, Prince Puma and Lucha Underground, a little disgruntled there, was finally released from his contract and was able to come into the WWE. So, this match is really spotlighting both of these guys to, highlight their, what they bring to the table to this new, WWE audience. But it also takes Adam Cole and makes him seem like a huge star in this match, very opportunistic, very much comparable to Edge in the Money in the Bank role. You have the Velveteen Dream, who, again, gets all of these highlight spots like all of these guys do in the match. And I talk about this so much with him, and I should have mentioned as well, because this is a multi-person match, and unfortunately I forgot to mention at the opening of the video, but, I've had quite a few Velveteen Dream matches, in this countdown so far. Like any video where I discuss any of the wrestlers that had allegations come out about them in the speaking out movement, I will look at the match itself in my review. When it comes to social media, I will not tag or highlight the individual there. That said, I completely understand if you choose to skip this video, from this point forward or altogether. No harm, no foul. I know that's, not an easy, touchy subject for a lot of people, which is completely understandable. I made the personal choice to carry on with these videos and include those matches in the countdown, but, I understand if you disagree with that. But looking at Dream, I've talked about it so often with his matches that he has this complex character of, being this grandiose showman, but also having all of these insecurities at play. And in this match, he really feels like he has a pressure to perform a memorable ladder match. And, you think about, Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 10 with the splash off the ladder. And, there's multiple times in this match where Dream, maybe rather than win the match, he goes for this big spectacle because he feels like he has to, right? He has that chip on his shoulder and he needs to emulate and create that, memorable experience. But in doing so, ultimately he doesn't win this match. So that kind of bleeds into this. And then you have, the two big bulldozers. You have Killian Dain and you have Lars Sullivan, who are on this collision course and are basically just trying to prove, who is the bigger, tougher, stronger individual. That would eventually lead to, a small rivalry for them, capping off on a great no disqualification match on NXT television, I believe later that month, if not the next. So you have all of these little pieces at play, and how it's crafted in this match is so good because right from the bell, you have EC3, who's this arrogant, cocky heel who immediately bails out at the bell. And then you have, the big guys clear the ring and kind of look like they're, headed for this, big collision right at the start. And EC3 gets to use his character work again and, encourages them to fight, which leads to them, trying to go after him. And it creates this big, runaround, messy scene on the floor. And then you're able to accentuate Ricochet, who's the other debut, where just immediately, a minute into the match, he hits this incredible Escalera shooting star press to the floor. The crowd comes completely unglued. You immediately know that this dude is one of the most spectacular wrestlers you've ever laid your eyes on. And then he proceeds to get to run through all of his quick offense on Velveteen Dream and really get to look good. We have, this early going where everybody gets a little bit of a spotlight. They'll hit a big move or a couple of their signature moves and then get cut off by the next guy. No one's really able to get, climbing up the ladder and get that momentum. Killian Dain, gets a nice offensive maneuver. He's someone that they always kind of hype as like deceptively agile for his size. So he hits like a big tope on Lars Sullivan. Eventually Lars, he's kind of this unhinged, maniacal strongman wrestler. So he gets an extended sequence where he picks up a ladder and almost like, you get these dive sequences, right, where everybody kind of stand around and wait for the next guy to catch. And, we got the tope from Lars, or the tope from Killian Dain, I should say. And Lars, he's not going to do a dive. So he just presses a ladder and throws it onto a pile. And basically that's used as like a dive spot, which I thought was pretty funny. And then he just proceeds to smash everyone with ladders. And he hits, the Terry Funk spot with the ladder around his neck, and he gorilla presses Velveteen Dream onto a ladder. And eventually he tries to win the match, and Ricochet cuts him off and goes for a sunset flip powerbomb off the ladder. But again, they show Ricochet, is willing to risk it all with a move like this. Lars Sullivan is too big and too strong, so it actually leads to all of the other guys coming in and basically hitting like a Shield-style multi-person powerbomb onto Lars off of the ladder to take him out for a little bit. There's some huge bumps in this match. Ricochet takes a wild back body drop from Killian Dain into a ladder. There's a point where Adam Cole and EC3 end up kind of teaming up. They're the two really kind of slimy heels of the match, so it makes natural sense that they would do that, and they take out, the big guys and everybody else, and, Cole so graciously allows EC3 to, pose to the crowd, but EC3 does a, EC3, baby, and, that upsets Adam Cole, kind of for him stealing his thunder, so, that leads to them having a falling out, and Adam Cole gets this great spotlight where he super kicks everybody in the match, including, Ricochet off a big springboard, which looked great, and he gets, the Adam Cole baby, taunt, which got a huge pop from the crowd. Velveteen Dream gets this extended sequence where he hits the purple Rainmaker, the elbow drop on everybody, and then he ends up hitting this just huge one off the tippy top of this crazy big ladder onto Killian Dain, or onto Lars Sullivan rather. But again, that's, one of those moments I mentioned where, he could have won, but instead, he decided to drop the big elbow. EC3 power bombs him off the ladder into a ladder in the corner, and so many of these spots, these guys' bodies are just bouncing off of these hard metal ladders. It's a really brutal match. EC3 gets a TKO to Adam Cole off the ladder. There's an awesome spot where Killian Dain hits a Vader bomb on EC3 who's lying on a ladder. And I think actually might have been sandwiched with a ladder too, if I remember correctly. But as he's doing this Vader bomb, Adam Cole climbs up on his back and grabs him in a sleeper. So it's basically like a Vader bomb with extra weight, which was really brutal. We end up finally getting the big battle of the bulls between Lars and Killian Dain, and how they set it up was really fun, where they basically just started hurling Ricochet at each other, like beeling him across the ring back and forth before, they finally squared off. Lars kind of got the advantage there. And then there's an awesome point where Ricochet, tries to kind of run in and climb up the ladder, and Lars pushes him off. But as Ricochet's falling off the ladder, he hits this wild moonsault to the floor onto the pile, rather than crashing and burning, which was awesome. The crowd for this match, it's a WrestleMania weekend takeover, so they're so hot. This was the opening match on the show too, which is crazy. So the crowd here is just molten electric. NXT TakeOver New Orleans is one of the best shows they've ever done, and this really started it off on the right front. Ricochet at one point gets a shooting star press onto EC3 on the ladder. They do this really big wild spot where this ladder bridge is kind of constructed. So a little contrived, I should say, but it is what it is. But Ricochet and Velveteen Dream end up battling on this ladder bridge, and Velveteen Dream hits the Dream Driver, the rolling Death Valley Driver, to Ricochet onto the ladder bridge, and they both bounce off it. And again, it's just a wild, wild move. We build up to this great moment where there's two ladders bridged from the ring apron to the announcer's table area. We end up getting two guys lying across them, and then Lars Sullivan hits the freak accident, which is just a big sidewalk slam to EC3 off the apron onto Velveteen Dream, who's on a ladder. And then, not to be outdone, again, playing into this anything you can do, I can do better kind of storyline these two big guys have, Killian Dain hits a Rikishi driver, Fire Thunder driver, whatever you want to call it, to Adam Cole, again, on to Ricochet, who's lying on this ladder bridge as well. And they do these moves kind of 1-2, rather than doing them simultaneously at the same time, which I thought was kind of cool too, because it allows for those two pops instead of just that one pop. So again, it's giving the crowd more by spacing things out a little bit. We end up our finish here. It's the two big guys that just took out all of their opponents. They're fighting up a big ladder, and then slowly, because neither one of them can get the advantage, everybody starts to slowly make their way in and kind of set up their own ladder and do the climbs. So we eventually, have all six guys on three ladders in the ring. Adam Cole hits a Russian leg sweep to EC3 off the ladders. Ricochet hits a neck breaker to Velveteen Dream off the ladders. Lars hits the freak accident to Dain off of the ladder. And seems like he has the match won, but as he's climbing up the ladder, Ricochet springboards in and basically just monkeys onto his back. And the ladder ends up buckling, and they both fall to the ground in this brutal, spill of a spot. And, maybe that wasn't supposed to happen, but it added this reckless nature to it. And it actually made more sense than just Ricochet climbing up him and knocking him down, that he pulled him down and slammed him into these other ladders. It seems like Ricochet maybe has this moment in the sun, but everybody forgot about Adam Cole. WWE generally does a good job with their camera work in these ladder matches whenever there's kind of a surprise winner out of nowhere. So Adam Cole kind of shows up, is able to punch Ricochet off the ladder. He's the last one standing at this point. He grabs the belt. Adam Cole, baby, the first NXT North American champion. He definitely felt like the right winner at this time. He's somebody that, came into NXT as a new signing, seemed like he was immediately going to get into the NXT title picture with Drew McIntyre. That never really happened. So it made sense to have him be, the first basically NXT Intercontinental Champion and really go that Shawn Michaels kind of route before, he would end up winning the heavyweight title. Obviously Shawn Michaels such an influence in Adam Cole, being the NXT trainer. So, I appreciated that. And what better way for him to win that title in a ladder match, right? This match is absolutely excellent. It's a thrill ride. It holds up so well now, which a lot of ladder matches don't do as much, watching them back, years later. But this one, I know it's not super old. It's only, 4 years ago. But the spots are great. The story is great. The crowd is great. And everything comes together for this incredibly memorable match. You can watch it on Peacock. If you're outside the US, it's on the WWE Network. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you never miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50. And please join me again tomorrow as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50.